Devil I know's got fire in his hips. When it gets too thick, it goes down to the river, man. People wanna know why it dips. Yeah, I have to tell him it's just the way his body's programmed. It's just the way his body's programmed.
Well, hello, I'm Babyshakes from Full Flower Moon Band, but you can call me Kate. We are about to release our third album, Megaflower, and go on an Australian tour, the biggest one we've done yet.
Beautiful, Kate. Thanks for joining us today.
No worries.
So we'll start off on the album. So Full Flower Moon are set to release your new album, Megaflower, on July the 19th. So how are you feeling about it?
Well, I just came home from listening to the test pressings and I'm feeling really good. I finished the record a few months ago and haven't had that break to hear it with fresh ears until now. And yeah, just had a full listen through and I, for the first time, can say I'm pretty proud of it.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. You'd be in the shit if you weren't, because there's not much you can do about it now.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you were going for with it?
Well, our last record, Diesel Forever, was sort of an album that gained us a larger audience. And it was a heavy rock album. And with this record, I just really wanted to be as expansive and generous as I could, like in terms of it being a studio album and being genre bending. I felt like I had two choices. I could double down on hard rock riffs and continue to, I guess, play into the last record, or I could be, I guess, a little bit more adventurous and take a bigger risk. And I chose to do the latter.
Yeah, it's actually a good point that you raise. Like, because Diesel Forever was so well received, like the temptation just to rehash that formula because people liked it, it'd be massive. But you'd also, as an artist, you'd want to break away from that and sort of test yourself a little bit more as well. Out of the comfort zone, I guess.
I was definitely faced with a choice. And while I am a massive like hard rock fan, and I will 100% continue to have hard rock influences, I just wanted to be as brave as possible. And not only for me as an artist, but also for the audience. Like I just felt like I had an opportunity to go somewhere that I hadn't been before. And I hope it's received with as much love as was put into it. But by no means am I done with the hard rock genre. It'll come back again. It's still there. And just Diesel Forever was such a live album. Like it was tracked live, it was tracked quickly, and I love being in the studio. I love finding sounds that aren't necessarily gonna be able to be played live. So I don't know, just I made my job harder, but I hope it will pay off.
Yeah, you've released the tracks West Side, Illegal Things, and Devil. So are they a good sonic representation of what to expect?
They are, in the sense that each of them kind of like push into a new genre, and structurally each song moves in really weird structures. Like a lot of this record have songs that are almost in like 3 or 4 parts of ideas, and they move through the arrangements in like ways that I find really interesting. And so each of those songs does that. And I think the album as a whole also does that, like keeps moving and branching off and coming back. And yeah, I think it is a good representation because it's doing, the 3 songs do so many different things, like the whole album.
Yeah, cool. So to elaborate on that a little bit more, like you're quoted as saying that most songs on the album went through a metamorphosis before being completed. So Can you
Yeah.
go a bit deeper into that? Like, what do you mean by metamorphosis?
So that relates to the songs moving through phases, genre shifting. The metamorphosis for me was, instead of saying, oh, here's the lick for devil, you know, E to G for the whole song, I said, oh, here's the lick for devil, E to G, but here's every idea that's coming out of it. And I didn't cut, or I workshopped the songs to the point where not very much was left on the cutting room floor. And I don't think that, like, that could be interpreted as, oh, so you just threw everything at it. But the metamorphosis was workshopping it and workshopping and workshopping it until it felt like a fully grown tree, instead of anything that was out of place or pruned back. I just tried to be as generous as possible with how many ideas I had for the record. And the artistry was making it fit, instead of cutting things out. Yeah.
Now, you also produced and recorded the album yourself. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of keeping it in-house like that?
Well, it's easy to say that I recorded it myself, but in truth, this was probably the most collaborative record I've done. I just ended up still having the final say in the editing of it. In my process, it's not just songwriting and recording. A lot of the final product is inside the edit. I had Ali, an engineer, track most of the record with me out at his studio, Swan Pond Studios in Scenic Rim, which, again, it was challenging because I usually do it entirely. I usually am a little more hands-on. So it went me, a lot of people that I've never worked with before. So Ali, Adib Parker did some percussion and synths. Tony Butchin came in, and sorry, I always pronounce Tony's last name wrong. I think it's Buchan. Sorry, Tony.
Tony B.
Yeah, Tony B. They came in, added themselves in their positions as engineers, producers, mixing, and then I kind of like took it back myself again and touched everything. I feel like I can't release something until I've touched every bit. And also in terms of the band, Caleb, Christian, Marley, Luke, this was our most intense brain hive to make something come together. I invited them in a lot more to the emotional arc that I went through in making this record, and leaned on them as much as I could, just to get to the finish line together. So yeah, I love producing and I love engineering and editing and recording, and it's important for me to still touch it. But I did challenge myself in a really positive way by inviting in as many people as I could. There was also some guest guitarists involved. Connor McDonald. There's a track on there I recorded with JB Patterson a few years ago that I put on as well. So yeah, that's probably something that I haven't really put in the press release because it's a lot of yeah, it was a lot.
It's got to write down, but it's easy to say.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's no track on the album called Megaflower, so it suggests to me that the title holds a bit more significance.
Yeah, it's I'm often a bit tongue-in-cheek with things, and I sort of knew that by saying Megaflower, people would think I'd probably gone heavier. And it's my way of saying, hey, imagine if bigger wasn't heavier, but still big. So I'm stretching I'm stretching as far as I wanted to genre-wise, and that's my mega, as opposed to mega.
I like it. I love it.
Did you this?
Oh wow, look out, you've got a disco happening.
Yeah.
When it comes and goes.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of new pressures on me for this release too, because I think I was saying earlier, my first time with a bigger audience, my first time with industry on board, and I felt like the title Megaflower is kind of how I felt about it, like mega flower, like go big or go home.
Right. And then you've got an album tour coming up to promote Megaflower, starting in Melbourne on August the 23rd, then goes through Castlemaine, Adelaide, Brisbane, Newcastle, Sydney, and finishes in Wollongong on September 15th. So what can we expect from those shows? What do you got lined up for us?
Well, I'm very grateful to the audiences that have attended our shows for the last 2 years since Diesel Forever came out. My main goal is to be as generous as I can with the live show, by rearranging some of the older songs, really focusing on like a live show. I'm not going to be trying to recreate the record exactly. That would be impossible. So all my efforts now that the record is finished is to kind of switch gears mentally and say, okay, now I'm a live band. How can I do live arrangements as artfully as possible and keep it fresh and exciting? For the shows that we can have extra players, I'm going to be bringing on, you know, some friends, and I've got some surprises in store for our hometown Princess Theatre show in Brisbane, because I want to be as mind-blowing as possible on all fronts.
Very good.
We're definitely not a band that sounds exactly like the recordings. So I think that's important. You know, you want to come to a gig and get a gig.
Yeah.
We don't use track or anything like that. It's important to me that there's like an authenticity in the room that might only happen that night, you know?
Oh, yes. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time today, Kate. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Full Flower Moon will release the third album, Megaflower, on July the 19th. Tour kicks off on August the 23rd. So check out all the socials and keep up to date.
Thank you so much, Kris. And can I just say thank you for having me. The band was super excited to hear that we had an interview together. So thank you so much for your time.
Devil I know's got fire in his hips. When it gets too thick, it goes down to the river, man. People wanna know why it dips. Yeah, I have to tell him it's just the way his body's programmed. It's just the way his body's programmed.